Welcome everybody, welcome everybody, welcome everybody. How you like that new intro? My name is Jason Sisneros, also known as the Bald Avenger, the Tattooed Guru, the purveyor of all things common sense, the king of the Misfit Nation, and a legend, baby, a legend in my own mind. Now, I'm coming to you live this evening from the Ambassador Hotel in Kansas City. In Kansas City, baby. Can you hear me now? Let's make sure that this is all working out. Making sure that all of our stuff is working. Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. All right. So here's what we're going to do tonight on the Bald Avenger show. We are going to, we're going to kick this off. I forgot to tell you that I am a legend, baby, a legend in my own mind. Okay. So here we go. Tonight, we are going to be talking about a very near and dear subject to my mind and to my heart, and it's called the 3 major benefits of being a misfit. Now, this evening, I got headphones in. I'm not in my studio, obviously. I'm on the road. I'm in Kansas City at the Ambassador Hotel. Beautiful hotel. And a good sign of life is that right across the street, there is a concert going on and a hell of a big motorcycle rally. So there's a lot of noise, and I'm going to do the best I can to shut it off and make sure that we do a hell of a good show here tonight, because we're going to be talking about my absolute favorite subject, the 3 major benefits of being a misfit. And those of you that are just joining, this might be your first exposure to the show. People are sharing this out. It's the show is starting to go viral in a couple of areas. Sometimes I think it starts off going viral for the wrong reason and then goes viral for the right reason, which is fantastic. But for those of you that don't know, the following of this show was started by, and the name Misfits came from a group of people that started following along, and we started hanging out together. We sort of believe the same, not that we're the same people, right? That there's white, there's black, there's gay, there's straight, there's men, there's women, there's everything that you could possibly imagine, the Republicans and Democrats. But one thing that binds us all together is the cause of easing suffering together and saying the things that need to be said, right? Speaking the words that need to be heard. And a lot of times that is to find an unbiased that doesn't really care about whether it's a Republican or Democrat or there's very little agenda behind it. Misfit Nation, the agenda behind Misfit Nation is very, very simple. It's to ease suffering in the world. So we're gonna get right into the show, and you're gonna learn all about what Misfit Nation is and the 3 biggest benefits that I've seen now, having been the king of the Misfit Nation for almost 3 years now, doing our own events and hanging out together and doing all the stuff that we've done and changing the world, and the money that we've raised for charities, the businesses that have grown, the friendships that have grown, the family that has come together, and a bunch of weirdos that have come together around the idea of easing suffering. So we're going to get right into it tonight. What is the definition of a misfit? What is the definition of a misfit? Now, I went directly to the dictionary because I wanted to know. I didn't want to make up my own word, right? I wanted to use the exact right definition, and it says something that fits badly. A person who is poorly adapted to a situation or environment. Okay, the definition has largely been used in a negative way, right? And I've gotten hammered by that every once in a while. Where I get people that DM me, or they have my best interest in mind. They're not trying to be negative. They have my best interest in mind. They say, Jason, Misfits, that has a negative connotation. And I thought, you know what? Let's talk about that tonight. Let's get it out. Like this is part of being in the Misfit Nation. What you're going to find out about is that we get everything out. We talk about those things. We say the unsaid because those are the things that need to be talked about. And I thought about this for a little while, and everybody that's approached me with this concept that, oh, it's negative, overwhelmingly 99% of the feedback is that we love being misfits, right? That regardless of the definition, regardless of the connotation, regardless of how people think about us, out there in the rest of the world, that it is not a negative connotation for us. But let's address the negative side of it, right? There's, the definition we already said has been largely used as a negative connotation. And just as anything in life, and we're going to address this, there's two sides of the coin. The negative side, is there a negative side? Absolutely. Notorious misfits, right? Notorious misfits throughout history that I believe have given it a bad name, that have been given it a bad name. Dictators, Adolf Hitler, Chairman Mao, murderers like John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, business fraudsters like Bernie Madoff or Charles Ponzi, sports figures like Tanya Harding, and maybe even like a Dennis Rodman, right? Dennis Rodman, some people love him, some people hate him, but at the end of the day, these are the people that are put forward as the misfits, the people that don't fit into their environment, the people that fit badly into a society. They stand out so badly because, or so vividly because of their poor actions. Okay, and I don't want to spend much time on that, but I wanted to acknowledge it because I do get some feedback. Probably you do too. That this misfit thing. It's a bad thing. You don't want to be a misfit. You want to be a champion. You want to be a warrior. You want to be all of those these other words. But the reason why I think misfit settled in and fits so well is because of how I've chosen to use the word and to adopt the term misfit. In the same vein, look, it's two sides of the coin, right? Two sides of the equation. Just like we see pretty much, in a polarized world, there's two sides of every equation. And how I've decided to use it is a misfit in Misfit Nation, okay? A misfit in Misfit Nation fits badly into a society that chooses to live in blame, self-pity, and ideological, unthinking allegiance to an ideology of belonging, okay? Fits poorly. We do not fit poorly where people want to blame, where they're going to live in self-pity, where they're going to be ideological to a fault, to where they're going to be ideological to fit into their own gang. And that's all Republicans and Democrats really are, right? It's just two different gangs. And now we're fighting against each other. We used to be a country that wanted to solve problems. Now what we want to do is destroy the other side. So yes, a misfit in Misfit Nation fits badly into a society that chooses to live in blame, self-pity, ideology, unthinking allegiance for the sake of belonging. We think freely here. We have our own opinions. We speak them loudly, even if the other person disagrees. We're going to get into why and that there's a way to be able to handle these types of things. And I just want to take a pause real quick, give a shout out to the original misfit, Ray Ann Gardner's in the house. Hello, Donna Proxell. It's good to see you. Andrea, good to see you. Bonnie, welcome to the show. Emily, my love, she's here. Robert Brooker, long time. Good to see you. Todd Alexander, good to see you. Jason Lewis in the house. Tatiana, just want to say hello to all of you guys that come here. I value you guys showing up. I value you being here. There would be no show. There would be no Misfit Nation. There would be no Unstoppable events. There would be none of this if it wasn't for you, and I appreciate you. So let's keep going with this. A misfit in Misfit Nation poorly adapts to an environment bent on selfish achievement, poorly adapts to any situation that demands of us to remain in the past and carry guilt imposed on us by people that want us to stop living because we made a mistake. Okay? I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to keep throwing that out there, right? Diana says she doesn't generally don't fit in, but I no longer care. Like me or not, your opinion of me is not my business. That could be a bumper sticker for all of Misfit Nation, right? Aaron is a misfit. Like we talk about this, is that we poorly adapt to an environment bent on selfish achievement, right? Let's think about this for just a second. People in Misfit Nation, we achieve, but we achieve with a purpose. We achieve with the idea inside of us that if I'm a producer, okay, because we have kind of two sides, and you guys know this, is that we have the charitable side of what we do, and we also have the side that builds big businesses for people that are charitably minded, but their skill set, the thing that they bring to this world, is their ability to be able to earn so that they can then resource people that are in charities. Charities need money. They're nonprofits for a reason. And then we have a group of people, Kat Dawn, Pastor Rudy, Tamara Hunter. I could just keep going on. We have Feed a Billion. We are on and on down the list of the charities that are Misfit Nation charities, the people that we believe in. We've got Veteran Society. We've got anti-suicide. We really come together around the idea that a victim has had choice ripped out of their life. They're not the traditional victim of, oh, poor me, I'm going to find something about myself and just go out there and poke myself into places and find a way for myself to be offended. It is really genuinely in the Misfit Nation that we are out to support those who have had choice ripped out of their life, who are suffering, who are needing a hand up and needing somebody to be in your corner, right? That's what the Misfit Nation is all about. It's not about selfish achievement. It poorly adapts to any situation that demands us to remain in the past. Okay, we're going to get into this very deeply in the 3 points that I'm about to throw out there tonight, but we don't fit in if we've got to stay in the past. And we're going to talk a lot about how people keep you stuck in that past. We're looking at, let's see, what else? That demands us to carry guilt around by people that want us to stop living because we made a mistake, okay? Misfit Nation, we do a few things differently, and we're going to talk about these points, and we might as well just go ahead and dive right into it. Point number one, a requirement of being a long-term, like there's people who come into Misfit Nation and then they find out that there is personal responsibility. And then they bounce. They're like, no, you know what? I was looking for a group of people that will feed my weakness. That they'll take my color, my sexual preference, my whatever it is, and make sure that I feel it's okay. The world is set against you. It's fine that you're failing. It's fine that you're not trying. It's fine that you're not putting forth your best effort. There is rules, and it's loosely held rules. It's just a way that we all decided to come together and to behave as a group, as a tribe of people. Misfit Nation has chosen, benefit number one is that we make it right with those people that we have wronged. Okay. And the idea behind this is that there's a huge benefit, right? There's a huge benefit to admitting fault, or at least being clear on your participation in the upset of a worthy or significant relationship or a group of human beings that you used to belong to. Okay. There is a huge benefit in admitting your fault. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. How do you admit it? What are the absolute, what's up, Tony Rodriguez in the house? He's a huge misfit. Ken Avaleos in the house. Good to see you. I saw my boy, Mr. Marine, Ruben Lowing is in the house too. Good evening to all of you guys. Okay, so let's talk about this. What can you do when we talk about the idea of making it right with those that we have wronged? The first thing is a mindset. You got to just go, you know what? I am done making excuses for my behavior. Let's get it out. Let's talk about it. What can you do? Number one, make a list of everybody that you've wronged. Make a list. Just write them down, right? And here's going to be the tough part of your list. You're going to be like, Karen, I'm not putting Karen on the list. You know, that bitch and I don't get along. Like, she did a lot of stuff to end our relationship. And you know, my buddy Joe, like, this guy, oh my God, like, I'm not gonna put him on the list. Why would I put him on the list? This is the best exercise that you'll ever do. It's the best exercise that I ever went through, forgiving my adopted father who went to prison for attempted murder of me and my mom when I was 17. And there was years of abuse before that. The best day of my life was when I got rid of him and disallowed him being in control of my life. We're going to get to that in one of the second points. So make a list of everybody you've wronged. Number two, if you can, apologize to them. Sometimes the people that we needed to apologize to they're past, right? They're gone. There's nobody that you can say you're sorry to. But in that, if you can't, write a letter of apology that never gets sent, right? I have angry email box, okay, where I'm like, bah, 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 and I get out all the poison and all the stuff that's about me and my tiny little ego and feeding it and da da da, and then I just push it over and I never send it. Okay, you can do the same thing and write a letter of apology that never gets sent, but get it out. It's about purging. Okay. Number 4, take what actions you can or should be taken. Take what actions you can or should be taken to rebuild the fence. Okay. You've knocked it down. Somebody's knocked it down, whatever it is. Take the actions. And those actions could be, I'm sorry. You take that list and you call them up and you go, you know what? We've been fighting for 10, 15 years. I just want to apologize. I want to apologize for the upset. I want to apologize for my part in it. I want to say I'm sorry. If you borrowed money from somebody that you didn't pay them back as much as you can. If you're not in a position to pay them back, but send them $10 and go, you know what? I apologize. That a lot of that happened with me when I crashed. I had a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I had different people that had believed in me, and they lost everything because I went under. And for many, many years, I would send $50. I would send $100. I would do whatever I possibly could to make it right. And almost everybody, not everybody, but almost everybody, I made whole for the money that they lost because they believed in me, right? It happened. I cannot sit there and go, well, they're just stupid and they made bad decisions and blah, blah, blah. I could, because that's true. I have never, not one time when I've lost money in a business deal, had anybody come back to me and say, you know what, Jason, that business deal failed. And I feel like you invested in me, you believed in me, and I'm going to send you $5,000. I'm going to send you $10,000. I'm going to send you, I know you put a couple $100,000 into this deal. I'm going to send you 10 grand. Whatever it is, I've never had one person that's done it, but I've done it. I've done the best I can to make it right with those people that I've wronged, including money. If you said harsh words, if you damaged somebody's property, if you hurt somebody, if you did whatever it is, it's not easy for you to swallow your pride, but it's necessary, right? To be a part of a Misfit Nation, the one that doesn't fit in is the person who makes it right with those people that they wrong. Now, here's some benefits, and I want to talk about what is not allowed, okay? I want to talk about some benefits. Number 1, when I say take responsibility, take all the responsibility that is your problem and your fault, but not one iota more, not one cell more. Do not say, because a lot of times what people will do is they will take your kindness and your humility for weakness. And they'll be like, oh, of course you're wrong, right? And they'll start to pile on, and you don't have to accept that. You take the responsibility for your actions and not 1 ounce more. Because if you flip over into 1 cell more, now you're getting into a place where you're going into martyrdom to make yourself feel better because you feel guilty, and that's never the right decision. That's never the right actions, okay? Make it right, take responsibility, all of it, all of the responsibility that's yours, but not one little teensy iota more from that point forward, okay? What else? Remove the rope from your ankle, okay? Remove the rope from your ankle. All of you know how an elephant is trained. From the time that they're a little baby, they have a little rope tied around their ankle, and it's on a chair that they can't move. And so that's how they control them. They tie it, and then they grow up to be these 10,000, I don't even know the weight. Somebody might know the weight of an elephant out there. And then when they get to be these giant animals that can move like they can move entire trains if they wanted to. They put that rope around their ankle and they're trained to stay put, right? Remove that thing. When you've said and you've made it right with those people, take the rope off your ankle. The guilt of that no longer controls you. The guilt of that gets set aside. Okay? we're going to get into the specific action that you need to take to be able to do that and feel clear-headed about it, right? What else does it do for you? It frees up your mind. Frees up your mind. It frees up your mind because you're no longer hiding. If you did something wrong, as I've done, the worst time in my life when I was like, I didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do those things. I didn't lose that money. I didn't cheat on my wife. I didn't do those things. And that kind of stuff, that's the worst time because I'm hiding and I'm just very, very effective at going, I didn't do it. I'm a victim. Don't you know my childhood? Don't you know this? Don't you know that? And I'm deflecting and I'm doing all these things. But I knew inside of myself that I was lying. I knew that I was hiding stuff. I knew, and it was taking, like, again, you guys have heard me use the analogy of having, 12 chips or chits of energy that are handed to you. And if you spend 9 or 10 of those hiding shit that you should have talked about, lying about what your part in an upset or a bad business deal or whatever it is, then you're hiding. You take all of that, which God gives us 12 opportunities, right? 12 very powerful hours, some of us more, some of us less, but I've averaged it out at 12 just for the sake of the conversation. And to sit here and to say that I'm going to use all of those manufacturing the lie of my life from yesterday. And all it does is it kills your innovation. We talk about, oh, I've got potential. Oh, I've got a future. Oh, I've got all these other things. You don't have shit as long as you are repeating what you've done in the past and you're hiding all of the mistakes that you made. Those of you that think that I don't eat my own dog food in this area, just go listen to episode number 1 of the Bald Avenger Show that is available on iTunes or iHeartRadio or YouTube or, it's all over the place. You can go to thebaldavengershow.com and find it if you want to. Let me take a pause here and see how we're getting some reactions. Amanda says, I don't know the weight of an elephant, but a fun fact is that they can smell water 10 feet underground. That is a cool fact, and absolutely, I don't know how to align that with our conversation. So let's see. Robert, you can have him stand where you want to. Recently did this. Shelly Dale says she did this with her sister-in-law after 10 years, and we've talked more in a month than we have in years, right? Because you're not, and this is probably an important relationship, right? Some of these things are damaged for life, and the only person that gets freed from it is you, but that's enough. That's enough. You put those chips down, and now you start using those chips to build the potential and to build the outcome that you want to for your life. You can't do it while you still have 8 or 9 of your chits that are on the table that are doing nothing more than covering up what you did yesterday, all right? It increases your energy, right? You get your energy. There's so much weight on you when you are not being honest with yourself. Casey says playing the victim is super selfish. Sometimes we play the victim, don't even realize it, 100%. But there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm depressed, right? Depressed is an energy. Depressed means pushed down. Depression is being pushed down, and most of the weight that we put on ourselves that puts us in that depression and that engages with that depression is the weight of our own guilt, right? The weight of us not speaking the unspoken, not taking the actions that we need to take. What else? When you capture, okay, here's another one. You've got to, one of the master steps to all of this. Wet my whistle there for a second. The key to all of this is that as you go through it, memorialize the lesson that you learned in writing, right? Memorialize it. When you capture the lesson in writing, you can write a book from your lessons. You can leave a trail for your kids, right? I've written a book. I've gotten on stage and talked about this stuff. I have a podcast. I have in my will for my children, I have a story of lessons like, this is what happens. You learn this lesson, and here's what I learned. It's on video. They can watch it after I pass. If that happens tomorrow, I have all of the lessons memorialized of what I've learned and what I learned by being raised by a father, by an adopted father that hated my guts and beat me, to getting married and being in a relationship and kind of being a pussy throughout that because I didn't want to raise my voice even. Like you guys have heard the show that I've done with my ex-wife where, I raised my voice to her as we were going through a divorce. I raised my voice to her and she started bawling because I hadn't raised my voice in 5 years, right? Because I went at it completely opposite of the way that I watched my adopted father. So I talk about that, and I talk about the fact of being a rock solid leader, being an oak tree in the relationship, but not being pushed aside or pushed around, right? Because masculine energy has a value, and here's what it is. And here's the bad side of masculine value. These are all the lessons that I have memorialized and anchored in, and now it's available for my children, for my grandchildren, for my great-grandchildren, all of the lessons of Grandpa Jason Sisneros, also known as the Bald Avenger during that time, okay? So there is a lot of value as you go through this to memorialize it. I've seen some of the best-selling books that have come out have been people that had to face their demons. And one of the greatest demons that you have inside of you is the guilt that you carry around from you for the things that you've done wrong to people, okay? And I've had this conversation with people, and they're like, Jason, you've been carrying around all that guilt. You really didn't do anything. Like, I got into that business deal with you eyes wide open. And I'm an investor, which means that there's risk involved, and I risked and I lost. No, don't hold that against you personally. And I was carrying around like, oh my God, like I made this huge mistake. And this person was busy taking responsibility for their own life, right? They were taking responsibility for their own life. So memorialize your journey, because it's going to be important, even if it's just for you as you go, let's say you're laying on your deathbed, you're having a conversation with your children, you're going through it with your best friends, whatever it is. There is value in your journey. If you're watching this, there is value in your journey. There is value in your steps. There is value in your pain. There is value in your victory. There is value in the journey in between those two things. Capture it. Capture it. Okay? So that is point number one. Benefit number one is that we make it right with those people that we've wronged. Now, here's the second major benefit of being in the Misfit Nation, because I will not stand by, and if we've gone through this process, I will not stand by and allow people to have their pasts used against them by people who would bully them. And sometimes, and most often, the biggest bully in our life is us, because we can't bring ourselves to forgive ourselves for what was a snapshot in an otherwise lengthy movie called our life. Okay, you made a bad decision with a woman that night, and you cheated on your wife, or you made a bad decision, you cheated on your husband. You made a bad decision, you drank and drove. You make a bad decision, you drank, drove, and killed somebody. You made a bad decision and you robbed a bank. You made a bad decision and you took a shot of heroin and you put yourself, whatever that is. If it's not happening now, you're beyond it. If it is happening now, then you need our intervention as Misfit Nation to step in and to lift you up, right? And to help you if you're in any way, shape, or form in a place where you're suffering. And drug addiction is one of those, where if you're in drug addiction, yes, it's a choice to get out of it, but sometimes you need help. Sometimes you need grabbed and surrounded and hugged and pulled out of that environment so that you can get past that, right? If you're feeling suicidal, then just reach out. We have tools for that. If you're feeling like, that you're captured, you're an abused woman and you're in a home, you can reach out and we'll come and get you, right? If you have had a child, or you are a child that's been abducted and is being used in human trafficking, then reach out. We're looking for you, okay? But I'm talking about people that actually have a choice, right? A choice. And we have a choice because we're not in prison, because we're not imprisoned, because we're not victims of trafficking, because we're not these things. And we have to stand up and we have to look at what are the tools for us. And this is a huge benefit of being a misfit in Misfit Nation, because we forgive ourselves. And on top of that, the people that have hurt us, because if you haven't forgiven the person that hurt you, they still own you. Okay. And we're going to get into that just a little bit. All right. So look, a prisoner's done serving their time when they are released from prison. You're no different. When you haven't forgiven someone else, you remain under their control and thereby allowing them to continue to control you. You hold the key inside your own jail cell. picture that. Just stop for a second, close your eyes, and imagine you're in a jail cell. And you're like, I am falsely imprisoned, or I've been in here for 10 years. I've done my time. I'm stuck in this thing. They've told me I could get out. Why won't somebody let me out of this prison in my own life called guilt or holding a grudge? Because those are the two things that imprison us. And you're standing inside of that jail cell, and it's cold and it's dank, and you know that on the other side of that, you can go out and you can walk in a green pasture. You can have the sun hit your face. You can smile. You could laugh at something. You could go have your favorite meal. You could go do these things, but for the bars and the prison and the jail cell that you've put yourself in, but for that the surroundings that you have around you that have you imprisoned. And you look around and you're like, oh my gosh. And all of a sudden you feel and you go, well, wait a minute, what is that? And you reach inside your coat and you go, holy shit, I've had the key this entire time. Okay. And I want to tell a little bit of a story. And I don't know when it's coming, but so I just in between preparing for the show, I heard a story, and I believe it was Solzhenitsyn, if I'm saying the name correct, the name right, Solzhenitsyn. And this was a guy that was in a concentration camp. I talk a lot about the Man's Search for Meaning and Victor, but I'm talking about this other guy. He was in Russia, okay? And what he did was he started this research into his life while he was imprisoned, right? He was just taken out of his normal life, and the only reason that he was put in there was because he was Jewish, right? Ripped out of his entire life, put in there just like Viktor Frankl, and put into this prison cell. And what he did was fascinating. And I want you all to hear this because it has a lot to do with what we're going to be talking about tonight and your own power, taking your own power back. What he did while he was sitting in a concentration camp, not knowing whether he was going to starve to death, whether they were going to shoot him in the head, whether he was going to be used for torture, whatever it was, his situation was, what he did was he said, here's what I'm going to do. An act of absolute personal responsibility. And he said, I'm going to, with a fine-tooth comb, go back through my history and find out where I participated in my own imprisonment. Look, in a world that makes you weak because of how easy it is to blame someone else. It's so easy. There's so many support groups and so many victimization groups and so many things that want to feed off of your weakness and go, come over here, baby boo-boo. You know, we know you're hurt. Look, there's real victims, and then there's victims of our own making. And look, at the end of the day, I'm not sure that there's people that can't be rescued. I know trafficking victims that have escaped and become world leaders. I know prisoners that were falsely imprisoned in other countries that came out and stood on their own 2 feet. I know people that were thrown in garbage cans as a baby that have grown up to be some of the greatest servants on the face of the planet. Okay. And this man, Solzhenitsyn, stepped up and he said, I'm going to fine-tooth comb my past, and I'm going to find out what put me in this prison cell. I'm going to take complete responsibility for it. And he had Hitler and he had Stalin. You guys think you have people to blame? He had Hitler and Stalin at the same time that had put him in this cell in Russia for no other reason than he was Jewish. But he went back and he did a fine-tooth comb. And what came out of that was three tomes called the Gulag. It's called the Gulag something. I'll find it for you here in just a second. But it was called the Gulag Archipelago. Okay, the Gulag Archipelago, and it was 3 volumes. And why would he do that? Because if he couldn't accept responsibility for what put him there, he could then not correspondingly solve the problem. Because if it's always somebody else's fault, if it's somebody else always has to rescue us, if somebody else always has to come into our life to lift us up, and oh my gosh, I hope the government, oh my gosh, I hope this, oh my gosh, I hope that. We have given our power away. Okay, we've given our power away. But if you take personal responsibility, now you can affect and impact it. And the 3 tomes, I think they're 3 big books, that came about from the Gulag Archipelago, that was in huge circles and throughout history has been given a lot of benefit for why Hitler and Stalinism and socialism and Nazism, all that kind of stuff was defeated, was because first he took personal responsibility. Because if you don't, how can you solve your problem? How can you solve it? Okay, so let's get into this just a little bit, right? What can you do? Let's talk about that first, right? What can you do? Know the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is specific and shame is often ambiguous and externally assigned, okay? Learn, number one is know the difference between guilt and shame, right? Guilt is something that you are being convicted of. You are convicted in your heart because you know your actions in that upset or in that mistake were your own and yours alone, okay? That's guilt. And we're talking about how to deal with that. We already gave you step number one. Number two is shame, right? Shame is often ambiguous. What does that mean? Shame is, I'm ashamed because I had a baby out of wedlock. I'm ashamed because I was raped. I'm ashamed because my business failed. I'm ashamed because I cheated on my wife. I'm ashamed because my wife cheated on me. I'm ashamed because my children are not in a good spot. It's often ambiguous, okay? It's ambiguous, which means you can't touch it. And if you can't touch it, you can't solve it, right? So when we talk about that, it's ambiguous and correspondingly, it's externally assigned. That means that your people that are around you want you to feel shame. They want you to be ashamed. They want you to take that guilt on yourself. Why? Because if you take that shame and you wear it on your back, you will never be able to get rid of that for you to be able to achieve the things that they know by looking in your heart and looking in your eyes that you are massively capable of more than you are doing right now. And if you do it, you're going to make them feel bad. Shame is a tool being used against you constantly. Shame, you're seeing it on both sides of the equation. I shame you because you want to stay home and want to wear a mask. I shame you because how dare you ask a question. Shamers are despicable human beings, okay? And they're using it, and it's a giant microphone saying, I'm weak. I am the weak one, but I'm going to shame you and make myself look like I'm the person that is smarter than you, okay? The answer is generally found in the middle, not on either side of the screaming hordes, okay? So what you can do is know the difference between guilt and shame. Number two, admit that you screwed up and own that shit, okay? We're going to get into that a little bit later, but that's one of my favorite things to do. Write out what being free of guilt looks like so that you can step into it. If you don't know how to get to New York City, you got to figure out a map, right? You got to create a map of what you're looking for. You got to sit down instead of going, oh, poor me, I feel bad, I can't do anything about it, da-da-da. Sit down and take damn responsibility for your own actions and write out what being free looks like to you, right? What does being free of guilt look like to you? Write out a compelling future and take damn control of yourself. So many people I talk to, let me see your plan. Like, what's your legacy plan? What do you want to be on your deathbed? What do you want your life to like? I don't know. Well, get to work and build. If you don't know what you want your future to look like, then you're never going to get there. And all you're going to do is sit around and bitch and moan and complain about how the world is against you. The man is against you. The president is against you. Because you haven't taken personal responsibility and taken the first step that two prisoners in Nazi Germany and Nazi Russia that were put inside and taken out of their lives and put in real I'm getting so fired up. I'm losing track of my words, right? But they took responsibility inside actual captivity and starvation and threat of death. You just are what? Sitting around going, well, if I fail, I'm going to be embarrassed. Get over yourself, okay? Let's see. Write out what being free looks like. You got to write it down. What did you learn from your mistake? Capture it. You're going to find this to be something that Misfit Nation is very, very good at. Realize that it took time to become addicted to hiding and fear and blame and weakness, and give yourself time to become addicted to freedom. Okay? Give yourself time. Be patient. It's a process. I spent the better part of the last 3 days with somebody, a couple that are building a business, that have a business idea that I think is going to be wildly phenomenal. And at the end of the day, what every business owner wants to do is they want to go from point A to point Z. And I mapped out my timeline for them. I have never done this for anybody before. I said, here was when I was homeless on the beach, contemplating suicide. And here's today, right? And let's go through all of those little checkpoints along the way. You overestimate. Tony Robbins said this, and I want him to have a lot of credit for this. He said, we overestimate what we can get done in a year, and we underestimate what we can get done in a decade. So set your decade up and start working. Realize that be patient with yourself. It's a process. Okay. Now, what this will do for you, you will release the need to control other people. Okay. If you do this, if you take this, and you forgive yourself and the people that have harmed you, it will release the need for you to control other people. You get rid of it. People want to be in my life. Great. If they don't want to be in my life, great. I mean, I'll miss you, but I'm not chasing you. I'm not going to force you to be in my life. I'm going to not keep people that are toxic to me close to me, because it damages everything that I stand for. I stand for easing suffering in the world, and I can't do that by keeping somebody around me that I've been guilted into having around me because they guilted me into it, and because I need to control them. If somebody doesn't love me, then bye, baby. All right? And anyway, we won't beat that one to Trump. So you'll be free from the need to control the narrative of your detractors. Somebody write that down, baby. When you do this, when you forgive yourself, when you forgive the people that have hurt you, you will be free from the need to control the narrative of your detractors. You do not see me running around with people that go, Jason he's not taking it serious. Jason, da-da-da-da-da. Jason this, Jason that, all of the stuff. You know what? Nobody can say anything about me that I haven't said about myself, and I don't care, baby. I don't care. I care about the opinion of the people that are close to me that would never damage me on purpose. I don't care about somebody who doesn't want to get to know me and doesn't know me. I do. And even those people that I have harmed in the past that think that they know who I am because I screwed up, I lost money, I cheated, I went bankrupt, I was homeless, I begged for food, I sold drugs. All of those people that think that they know me, that guy's dead. That guy's dead. You don't know who Jason Sisneros is unless you met me today. Even the people that knew me yesterday, I'm different. These skulls, I die to myself every single day. I keep the good and I get rid of the weak. That's what I do. What do you do? Peace comes from knowing that you've done the work to rectify your situation. Do the work, let it go. No, peace comes from knowing that you've done your best to make things right. You learn, number 4, you learn that mistakes don't carry a life sentence, even if you're serving one. Okay, I have 2 people that I communicate with consistently that are on death row. Okay, and this is the same exact conversation. Heinous crimes that would make your skin crawl. Okay, and they're serving a life sentence because that's what their actions and behaviors drove them to, and they've accepted that, right? And they've gotten to a place of forgiveness, and now they're they're going to spend every breathing moment. Both of these guys are going to spend every breathing moment doing what they can to make it right, whether it's through their words, whether it's through their actions, whether it's through studying and they, giving their life to Jesus, or whatever it is that they've chosen to do. I'm going to say it one more time, and then we're going to move on. Is that you need to learn that your mistakes don't carry with it a life sentence, even if you're serving one. Okay? No matter what. Okay? The realization, this is something else that'll do for you. Number 5, the realization that freedom is a state of mind. Freedom is a state of mind, and there's too many people that have been in prison and been locked up unjustly and unjustly, that Viktor Frankl said, my favorite line, I was more free than my captors. I was more free than my captors. So no matter where you are, there you are. And you're free if you can free this, your mind. Those of you that are listening on radio, yeah, I pointed to my head. Let's see, what's the last point? Number 6. You now have, because this is about easing suffering, and we start to flip the coin of what a major benefit, and we're going to get to that in a second, is that you get to flip the coin, and you now have the skill sets and resources to free others and ease their suffering. Kat Dawn, I saw her on here earlier. Those of you, Tamara Hunter, they took what they went through this process, and now they serve other people, okay? Look, a strange but one of my favorite movies is called the movie called Split, right? James McAvoy, he's a multi-personality character, and his one character called the Beast, which is like gets big and blah blah blah. He has a gay character, he has a woman character, he has a young boy character, all the characters that we all carry around with us, which is just represented in his condition, right? But he said, the broken are the more evolved, right? And the broken can be the people that become the whiny bitches in this world, or they become the more evolved, which means they serve at a higher level. They have empathy at a higher level. They forgive at a higher level. They work on themselves at a higher level. They take responsibility at a higher level. And they know that the next moment could be the last moment that they have. So they're going to give this moment everything that they've got. The broken are the more evolved. Only through pain can you achieve your greatness. Only through pain can you achieve your greatness. And those of you that have a different opinion, you're not my peeps, okay? Oh, but we could be comfortable. We could do that. I don't understand that world. I'm never going to understand it, right? I'm never going to understand it. So, number 3, let's go to the next point. Boom. How you guys doing out there? Let me see what you guys have to say. Love that movie, Christopher says. I am more free than my captors. Let's see, what else? Kenna says, me too. Jason Lewis said, I killed the Chads today. Yep, I know that, and that's a personal thing. Hi, Lily. Good to see you, lady. It's a process. Ben says, love the journey. Yep, absolutely. Ben says, Kobe Bryant. Absolutely. Good. All right, so benefit number 3. We use our experience to turn around and serve other people, right? The best way, look, Mahatma Gandhi said this. He said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of other people. Mahatma Gandhi said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of other people. Giant benefit of being a misfit. If you stay here for long, you are a servant. You are somebody who serves at the highest level, okay? So that if that's good enough for Mahatma Gandhi, it's good enough for me. And most sickness and sadness in this world is the result of an addiction to comparison and a self-centered nature, okay? It's the result of addiction to comparison or a self-centered nature. If you're self-centered, you always need people to pay attention to you. You always need people to say, for them to go, are you okay? And you go, no, I'm not. And you need the attention, right? Attention whores. That's a thing. If you're a real victim, we come get you. If you're not, you're a victim of your own fucking self-centered nature. It's all about me, and that's what we're going to be focused on. It brings with it nothing but pain, okay? Nothing but pain. The other addiction is to comparison. Look at that guy. Look at this person. If you don't, once you get, I heard Jordan Peterson say this, and it stuck with me, is that if you are comparing yourself to other people after the age of 30, you are wasting your time. Because what he says is by the age of 30, you've lived so much life that there's such a wide gap between you and someone else. He used the example of the guy that was complaining, oh my gosh, I'm not doing better than my roommate. His roommate happened to be Elon Musk. How stupid is it? After a certain period of time, he was still doing really well, but he wasn't doing as well as Elon Musk, which, to his point, was like 7.3 billion people on the face of the planet aren't doing as well as Elon Musk. So that is a really, really great point. Okay. Now, what can we do about it? What the untrained mind is engaged in, right? Let's talk about this for just a second. What is the untrained mind engaged in? Number one, giant amounts of time, innovation, and potential are used up in holding back a secret or holding up a facade. You see the link to number one. Number two, when your brain is focused on finding weakness and sickness, it will find it. I'm going to say this again. When your brain is focused on finding weakness and or sickness, it will find it or it will create it. When your brain is focused on finding weakness or sickness, it will find it or create it in yourself. Comparing, the last one, number three, comparing your reality to someone else's facade is the devil's greatest tool. And I've spoken about that damn near every time I've opened my mouth. So I'm not going to beat that drum tonight. Now, true freedom is achieved when you assert control over your own intent. Step number one is allow your heart and servant's mind to drive the ship. Allow it to come out. Like, there's a lot of people that say, Jason, you lost money here, you did this, you got screwed over here. You know why? Because I was letting my heart drive the ship. I was letting it drive the ship so that I could allow for a space for someone to show up as a different human being, because I have been forgiven so many times that I've been given so much grace and so much forgiveness, and people have believed in me when they shouldn't have, and they've listened to my lies, and they've suffered through my cheating, and they've suffered through my business failures, and they've suffered through that stuff, and yet they still extended grace. They've still extended grace. And that's who drives the boat in this meat wagon, is my heart. It drives the boat, right? And my mind allows me not to stupidly trust somebody that's putting on a facade or wants to rip me off or wants to break in my house or do crazy shit like that. I still use my mind. My mind and my heart are connected in a way that allows me to use intellect to be able to navigate my life. But my heart is deeply engaged, okay? Number two, you can be specific about your legacy. If you're not specific about your legacy, what are you going to leave when you draw your last breath? What life have you lived? If you can't demonstrate that, if you haven't written that out, you haven't even gotten in the race. You are not on the field. You are up in the stands. You are being a cheerleader or cheering for someone else, or you're someone else's pawn in their own game. You have not even gotten in the game. If you haven't drawn out and gotten specific about what you want your life to have stood for, what do you want to have done? Where do you want to have traveled? What air would you want to have breathed? What river would you want to jump in naked and experience? What sunset would you want to see? What aurora borealis would you want your own eyeballs to see? What would it look like from the top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa? What would it look like staring up at the Sistine Chapel with your own eyes, not through pictures? If you haven't drawn that map, if you haven't done it, you're not in the game, y'all. You're not in the game because you haven't even taken the personal responsibility for the design of your own life yet. Much less the responsibility for where you've messed it up along the way. Okay? So align your money, proximity, and activities with your specific, well-detailed destination. See, all of these steps that are coming after this, if you're not willing to sit down and draw out your ideal life, right, which will change, which will grow, that's fine. But write something down, for crying out loud, and stop playing somebody else's game, start playing your own. But you can't align your money, proximity, activities with your specific, well-detailed destination if you don't know the damn destination. I don't mean to be yelling at y'all tonight, and I hope the volume's okay. I normally have my nice microphone, but it is what it is, okay? Now, number 4, make being in a tribe that serves non-negotiable. That's why I watch every message that goes up in Misfit Nation on Facebook. It's why I curate that information, why we curate people. Nobody goes in there to sell. Nobody goes in there with an agenda. People can talk and lift each other up, and it's more about easing suffering for people in Misfit Nation than it is anywhere else that I've seen on the face of the planet. So join us if you're not there already. Invite people that you know should be there, and make sure that happens. Okay. What else? Let's commit to gaining the skills and tools to be able to captain your newly built aircraft carrier. Okay. It's a damn aircraft carrier. When you write this stuff out, you have an aircraft carrier, which represents your publicly stated legacy right? You go out there and you say, oh, I'm going to write this story out. Tell people about it. That's your battleship, right? It's above water. It's very visible. You can see it from over with planes. You can see it. That's your publicly say. You got to say this stuff publicly, right? When I tell people the things that I'm doing, I say it very, very publicly. I say, we're going to do Unstoppable. We hadn't sold one ticket and I didn't know if anybody was going to come. And we had packed the house and we had a great freaking time, right? Great freaking time. Let's see. Now make your tactics, right? Your tactics of your approach, make them like a nuclear sub, under the water, stealthy and quiet. Because if you tell people your plans, the people that will smile to your face, but don't want you to achieve it, will step in front of your tactics and they will do their best to sabotage you. Okay. And so that's it. That's the 3 benefits, baby. And, you know, I want to talk a little bit about, again, we have things that we offer. If you're trying to get on your feet financially, we obviously have the Get in the Game, Anton J. Hang out for just a minute because I'm going to give you my takeaways, right? For just a second. Get in the Game. You go over there. You get our G-Spot group program. You can get a deep dive. You can get us in there. So a lot of people that are bringing us in right now because the organization, the company or the country is about ready to open back up. Anybody that's on here that's done the G-Spot course or had a deep dive, just go ahead and say, I don't have to say anything for myself because there's a lot of people here that have benefited from this information. If you want to boost your immunity, here's OG Tommy Gun. I'm taking this. Everybody that I know is taking it. Go to ogsupplement.com if you want to. But let's get into my takeaways, baby. Now, number 1, of all things, own your shit. Totally and completely. Okay? This is my takeaways. And this is something that I want you to hear and I want you to employ in your own life. Because until you do, you will constantly be weighed down. You will constantly be weighed down because you're carrying around, you're like, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't do this. My favorite character is the Joker's girlfriend, Harley Quinn. And it was, I can't remember the name of the movie right now, but she was having a conversation with the guy that was the firelighter, right? And he was, oh, this, that, the other, my power, it burnt down my family, blah, 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 blah. And she goes, own that shit, right? One of the greatest lines in any movie that I've ever seen in my entire life. No matter what you did, own it, make it right with the people that you harmed, and then forgive yourself, let yourself out of prison, and let go of it, right? I did it. Yes, I did it. That's what show number 1 was for me. It was, yeah, Suicide Squad. Christopher nailed it for me. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Let's see. What else we got? Okay, next step. Release yourself from prison, okay? This is the takeaway. Release yourself from prison. You have it right in your own pocket to let yourself out of the prison of guilt, the prison of shame, the prison of staying in a relationship that you no longer fit in, business-wise, personal-wise, friendship-wise, whatever that is. Release yourself from prison. You got to get out. If you're going to have that energy, you want to be a part of the Misfit Nation and be part of Easing Suffering, you got to do that. Step into your clearly defined superhero role. Who are you? What are you going to do with this life? Where are you going to go? Who are you? What superhero are you? If you think it's stupid that you're going to put out a superhero persona, how stupid is it that you've been walking around in a villain suit for most of your life in your own mind because you've been letting guilt control you? How stupid is it? I would much rather be stupid and be playing some kind of a superhero role and easing suffering in the world than causing suffering in myself and wearing around some villain suit that somebody gave me because they didn't want me to succeed, because they saw the superhero in my eyes and they wanted to squelch it. They wanted me to think of myself as a bad guy. I'm not a bad guy. I'm a superhero, and so are you. Number 4, when you identify what you want out of this life, when you identify where you're going in this life, when you identify who you're going to be in this life, you be that shit with every breath of your life. From now on, you be that person. You step into that person. You own that person. Because nobody controls how you feel. Nobody controls what you think. Nobody controls how you educate yourself. Nobody controls you. When you've defined your destination and you've decided to be a superhero and you've decided that you want to be somebody in the Misfit Nation, right? And you want to step in, whether it's our tribe, you start your own tribe, whatever it is. But you've got to be a hero in your own life. You've got to show up for yourself. And the outcome for us in Misfit Nation is 100% and always and forever going to be, we're put on this earth to ease suffering. That means that I have to get to be the best person that I can be for the purpose of serving other people. And it's a very simple mantra. I don't confuse it with agendas. I don't confuse it with ulterior motives. I show up and I serve every moment of every day. Will you? Join us in Misfit Nation. We're about easing suffering. It's not easy, but by God, it's worth it. I love you all. Peace. Thanks for being here.